Police at my door, part 3. Okay. So a couple of things I missed out when the police were at my door. I probably forgot them all. Well, one of the things that did make me laugh, he said, "What shall we call you?" I said, "Jesus." I thought that was quite good. But they didn't even call me Jesus. Can you believe it? If I'd have said it was Mary Jane, they would have had to, you know, political correctness and all that, or whatever. But he wouldn't call me Jesus. And I did look like Jesus at the time, because he had a long beard. Anyway, so it took them 45 minutes to get me on my back. And then I said I looked to my right, but I didn't. I looked to my left, and the first person I seen was a man with a balaclava and all dressed in black. Oh, I forgot to say that when I landed and they came in, they cut my top off and my t-shirt, and I was bare-skinned at 11:30 at night, effing freezing, and I was begging for a blanket, and they said, "Well, we're going to get you in the ambulance." So I've turned over, I've seen this guy to the left, he's got a black balaclava on, all dressed in black, and I've locked eyes with this piece of shit, and I mean locked eyes. I thought, who the are you? And then what does he do? He goes in my pocket and takes out my telephone. That's the only thing I had on me. And I was like, I was obviously conscious enough to say, "Oi, you know, what are you doing with that," etc. And I want it back. And then they got me in the ambulance. It took them another 45 minutes because they had to put me on one of these special stretchers because obviously what they'd seen, they were in no doubt that I was in big trouble. So they get me in the ambulance, and I can hear the ambulance staff talking about they're not happy about the fact that the ambulance got cancelled without first them triaging me. Apparently I was triaged by somebody who wasn't a medical officer or whatever. So they cancelled the helicopter, didn't bother getting the airbag, and kicked me in the face and punched me. So can you imagine what they would have done to me if I'd have stayed in here, if they were prepared to let, and I'll say, a trained attack dog gnaw me and then kick me in the face and then punch me in front of everybody? What would they have done if I'd have stayed in here when nobody could see what would have gone on? Well, I can have a rough guess. I would have fought for my life. I would have grabbed them they all had helmets on anyway, so I would have grabbed them by the helmet and swung them around a little bit. I would have just fought for my life. And then eventually they would have overpowered me, and then they would have took revenge on me for doing some damage to them. So I personally think that my option was the best option. And also, like I said, I was not prepared to get dragged out of my own flat for doing nothing wrong. And so we get in the ambulance, and then I start drifting a little bit. I can hear them panicking. And they were going to take me to Southampton, but then decided not to because they wanted to get me into a hospital ASAP. So they took me to Poole Hospital, where I spent, memory's a bit faded here with this little bit, but I was definitely in resus and ICU, a couple of hours each, that's all I know. And scans in that big donut thing, everything, every test you can think of. And all this time I was strapped in this thing. I can't move. In fact, I didn't move for about 7 hours or something like that. So we've done all the x-rays and everything else, and then the nurse came in and she looked a bit shocked. And I'm thinking, come on then. And she said, "Well, we can't quite believe it, but you've actually broken no bones or fractured any." She said, "You may have some internal bruising or whatever, but as for any bones, you haven't broke anything. And you're a very, very, very lucky man." So, now bearing in mind, I was pretty busted up. I've got a video of my injuries. These subscribers haven't seen it because it was on my old channel, but maybe I'll put something up and you'll see it.
Um,
Look at that there, these people are beating up a policeman in London somewhere. Yeah, so I'm in hospital, I'm pretty busted up. Now, what they should have done was kept me in there for the night, just for observations at least, minimum. But no. The court order said I must be sectioned under the Mental Health Act because I can't look after myself. So they sent me to I'm not going to say the name of it, but it's a place where people who are mental go. And this was at 6:30 in the morning. So from 5:30, well, from 8 days, I'm getting pursued every night by police. There must have been in total, I reckon, over 8 days, about 60 police. Probably like 6 a night, and then the whole carnival was here. And then the 5:30 in the afternoon till 11:30 at night, the standoff where I refused to be dragged out. And then I went to the hospital for another 6 hours, and then he took me straight to a mental home where I was not getting the correct treatment that I needed. I swear to you, oh my lord. So I arrived at this place, I'm obviously pissed off, mightily pissed off. And I go in here and I speak to the first guy, and he's saying, you know, come on now, tell me why you're in here. And I thought, oh my God, now I've got another battle on my hands now. I've got a battle with all these psychologists who are only doing the job. So, long story short, I speak to about 3 people that morning, or maybe 4. No, I didn't go to bed. I stayed up all day. I didn't get any sleep whatsoever until that night. And I spoke to all these different people who were in there. I don't know whether they're psychologists or nurses or what, but it was very much like the people in there needed to be in there. It's quite clear. And I would say that I got on, you know, I put myself around a bit in there, and I spoke to as many of these people as I could. And I developed a little rapport with quite a lot of them, actually. I'll get back to that in a minute. So anyway, I've got all these interviews with these psychologists, and they're saying to me what happened. And I'm telling everybody exactly what I've told you. No different, word for word. That I was not prepared to be dragged out of my flat. Because I'm not mental. So I told him the whole story, and I told him, I said I felt like a little mouse in a room full of big men in boots who were trying to stamp on me. And what's the mouse going to do? He's going to run around and try and get away. Well, that's how I felt. That's exactly how I felt. And I'm not the sort of person to just back down and open the door. And like I said, I've got a bone to pick with a few people about this, because that was some advice that I got given, would you believe? So I speak to all these psychiatrists for about 2 days. And I mean dozen at least. It must be a dozen. And I told them all the same story, verbatim. In fact, I went back another year before all this, and I told them all the same story verbatim. And you can see a lot of them were like, whoa, because a lot's gone on in the last couple of years. So after 2 days, I get called into, I'm sat in a room, I'm in a library room or something or whatever, and I'm in there, and this guy comes in with this girl, and they sit me down and they say, right, we've had a meeting, and we all agree that you can go home, that you don't need to be here for 28 days, or you can go home. That's it. Or you can stay voluntary. Now, probably some are thinking, well, stay voluntary, why would you do that? Well, because my flat was smashed up, my door was smashed, I had no money, I had the same clothes I arrived there in, well, apart from me giving me a t-shirt, no telephone, no optical aids, nothing. The shops were closed, everyone was on lockdown, so I thought, you know what, I'll stay here. It's free food. I've got my own suite. You get free cigarettes, free phone calls. You can do artwork and everything. And I thought, well, sod it, I'll stay here for a few days, just a bit of rest and recuperation, just to get my body back together. So I did. And then I made a video off on my channel to tell my subscribers what's going on. And I pointed at a tree outside, obviously. And I'm talking, I told everybody what happened. I said, I'm staying for a couple. I said, it's free food, it's etc, etc, etc. And it costs £700 a night to stay here. And that's a fact. That's how much it costs. So I said to my subscribers, I'm staying here till I feel better to go home. Not because I'm mentally ill, but because, well, as you can imagine, they're not enough. And then to be told that there's actually nothing wrong with you can go home. I could have gone home in a wheelchair, or I could have been dead for absolutely nothing whatsoever. So I was pretty pissed off. And then the next day he comes up, he said, oh Greg, he said, can I have a word? I thought, here we go. He said, we've found your channel or something like that. I was like, what? And I said, some of the things you're saying on there were a bit concerned. I said, hang on a minute. I said, can you ring me a taxi now? Because I want to leave right now. Because I thought to myself, look, you told me I can go on and I volunteered to stay, so now you've pissed me off. I said, I want to go right now. And this guy had never seen me like this before, because I'd always been Mr. Nice Guy, and all the rest of it. But when you want to mess around with me, I'll turn. So I told him to order me a taxi immediately. And I said, it's got nothing to do with you, what I say on YouTube. I said, you can't control that kind of stuff. I said, I've broken no community guidelines and all that. Then I had to go and have a meeting with these two other psychologists because they were concerned apparently about what I've been saying. So then I had to have another meeting with a man and a woman to try and, well, not convince them, but face a lot of questions about my views and my religious beliefs and all kinds of stuff. I was ready for these, I'm telling you now. I thought, come on then, hit me. How many questions have you got? Whew. So yeah, so first of all, they said you can go home, and I'll you stay. So I said I'll stay for a bit, for the free food and free accommodation. Then they say, oh, we're concerned about what you're saying. And I obviously crapped myself. I thought, what? No way. Anyway, safe to say, I battered them all off with all these stupid questions. And one of them is about, do you think God saved you? And I'm going to have to cut off it, because look at the time. I'm never going to get this in here. So it's going to have to be part 4, guys. I'm sorry. But it is what it is.